Have you ever really stopped to think about the gear on your back? It's way more than just some fabric and buckles, right? It's this whole story of evolution, starting from the absolute bare minimum and heading towards clothing that actually thinks. So today, let's trace that journey. We're going to go from the simple philosophy of carrying less all the way to a future where your shoes literally power your adventure.
So here's the plan. We'll kick things off with that timeless quest for lighter gear. Then we'll dive right into a classic debate, down versus synthetic insulation. From there, we're going to leap into the future with smart clothing and even shoes that generate their own power. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by looking at what this all means for you, the empowered explorer.
All right, so before we can talk about all the wild high-tech stuff, we have to understand where it all came from. And for outdoor gear, the fundamental idea has always been about one thing, the philosophy of just carrying less. I mean, this just puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? Minimalism isn't some new fad. Way, way before high-tech fabrics and carbon fiber poles, you had pioneers like Grandma Gatewood. She proved that your skill and your grit were the most important things you could carry. She conquered one of the world's most famous trails with basically a duffel bag. And that spirit of carrying only what's absolutely essential, well, that's what directly inspires the ultralight movement today. Eventually, that philosophy got a name, ultralight backpacking. The big goal here is to get your base weight under 10 pounds, or about 4.5 kilos. And just so we're clear, base weight is everything in your pack except for the stuff you use up, like food, water, and fuel. The whole idea is simple. A lighter pack means you can move faster, go farther, and put way less strain on your body. So how do you actually do it? Well, it becomes a game of grams. You literally weigh every single item. People modify stuff. I'm talking literally cutting the handle off your toothbrush to save weight. You make your gear do double duty. Maybe your poncho is also your shelter. But most importantly, you focus on what's called the big three: your shelter, your sleeping system, and the backpack itself. Get those three things light, and you are well on your way. Okay, so this quest for lightness has led to some incredible innovations, but it's also created some modern dilemmas. And probably the biggest debate for anyone who spends time outside today is this choice. Do you go with down or synthetic insulation? And right here, this is the core conflict. On one side, you've got down. It's natural, it's unbelievably warm for how little it weighs, but it's practically useless when it gets wet. On the other side, you have synthetic, a man-made polyester that keeps you warm even when it's damp, but it's usually heavier and bulkier to get that same amount of warmth. Let's be real, when it comes to pure efficiency, nothing beats down. Seriously, nothing packs down smaller or gives you more warmth for its weight. So if you're heading into cold, dry places, think high-altitude treks or those perfect, crisp winter days, and every single gram counts, down is your absolute best friend. But what if the weather's a total wild card? For those damp, drizzly, unpredictable conditions, synthetic insulation is the reliable workhorse. It's your safety net. It'll keep insulating you even when it's soaked from rain or sweat. It dries out fast, and it's usually easier on your wallet. It is the go-to, pragmatic choice for most variable climates. So we've pretty much optimized materials for weight, for weather, for every condition you can think of. But where does the evolution go from here? Well, the next giant leap is from passive materials to active technology. We are talking about clothing that gets smart. And this brings up a huge question for designers. It's not just about, slapping a sensor on a jacket and calling it a day. How do you create smart clothing that's not only functional, but that actually looks good and, more importantly, genuinely makes you feel more capable when you're out there? And believe me, getting this right is not guesswork. To avoid creating these clunky, useless gadgets that just end up in a drawer, designers follow this really rigorous process. They analyze years and years of existing research and boil it all down into a solid framework. This is really where the science of engineering meets the art of fashion. And that framework, wow, it's a serious balancing act. Designers have to think about everything: how you'll actually interact with the tech, its environmental impact, like power use and e-waste, and even how it fits into different cultural norms. And none of this can happen in a vacuum. It takes designers, engineers, and scientists all working together to make something that truly works for people. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's get tangible for a second and look at a piece of gear that truly feels like it's from the future. A shoe that is its own power plant. Just imagine that for a second. No more dead GPS, no more worrying about your headlamp battery. every single step you take becomes a source of free, renewable energy. This isn't science fiction, folks. This is active research and development happening right now. And the system itself is pretty elegant and simple. You've got a generator in the heel to create the power as you walk, then a management circuit to convert it and regulate it, and finally, a small battery to store it for when you need it. Generation, management, storage, all self-contained right there in your shoe.
So how does it actually work? Well, it's based on this fundamental principle of physics called electromagnetic induction. Basically, as your heel hits the ground, it pushes a magnet through a set of coils. That simple movement, that change in the magnetic field, creates an electric current. It's just genius.
And right here, you can see that journey from just an idea to an actual object. On the screen is the very first physical prototype. Now, it's not pretty. It's what they call a low-fidelity model, but it's real. It proves the concept can actually be built and sized to fit inside a normal shoe.
And here it is, the magic moment, the proof. With just a single press, mimicking a footstep, the device generates enough power to light up that little green LED. That tiny light represents a huge leap forward for self-sustaining wearable technology. And the potential here is massive. Simulations that are based on this design show that a single step could produce a peak voltage of up to 12 volts. That is a significant amount of power, more than enough to charge the small electronics that we all rely on when we're outdoors. So from that ultralight philosophy all the way to energy harvesting shoes, where does all this lead? Well, it leads to a whole new era for the explorer, an era where your gear isn't just a passive tool, but an active partner in your adventure. And these ideas are already hitting the market. For the next couple of winter seasons, we're already seeing smarter hybrid jackets that use both down and synthetic insulation in different zones to maximize performance. There's a huge push for sustainable, PFC-free materials. Synthetics are getting lighter, closing that gap with down. And even the construction of jackets is getting smarter to keep you warmer. The future is arriving way faster than you think. When you boil it all down, all of this innovation, from Grandma Gatewood's super simple kit to a shoe that can charge your phone, it has always been about one thing: empowerment. It's about giving you the tools to be safer, to go further, and to feel more confident and capable in any environment you choose to explore. This technology is changing what's even possible out there. So as our gear keeps getting smarter and smarter, the real question is, how is it going to change us?